This is Dust War Journals, episode 33, your number one stop for news and discussion related to Dust 1947. My name is Johannes. With me today are...
As usual, Magnus is here.
And even Ludda, but today I think I'm going with Phil Coulson. Yes. I just felt like it.
Okay, Phil.
Yes.
It seems like it's been a while, actually. The last episode we did was a bit early. This one is a bit late.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, things happen.
Yes.
Yeah, we're in that age now that sometimes things just happens earlier. Sometimes it takes a while for things to work, you know. It's just
There's
how it is.
pills for that, you know.
Yeah. Whatever were you insinuating there? I don't understand.
I never inseminate.
Please don't.
Exactly. Maybe we'll have that discussion later.
Oh,
Off air, I think.
We'll explain everything to you, Ludda.
finally.
The birds and the bees and everything in between.
Yeah.
Right, we're here to talk about Dust 1947.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
right.
There's been quite a lot of stuff going on in the game as of late, actually, and also in our own hobby life. I could start by telling you that I don't think you've heard this before, but I actually received the Kickstarter for the resin buildings that ended a while back.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I was starting to think that I actually had the Kickstarter. Oh, yeah, finally. I know it was late, but I mean...
No, this actually, for once, this was a Kickstarter that delivered pretty much on time.
Yeah.
I'm very happy about that because I've backed a lot of things on Kickstarter, and it's the rule rather than the exception that you have to wait for stuff a long time.
It was like German ingenuity or whatever.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's German punctuality, and so I'm very much looking forward to putting those together and getting them painted. They look really cool.
Nice.
Very simply made. It's just 4 different pieces for the different walls and a roof piece. So just glue that together and you're done. But it looks very, very cool. I'm going to try to put them together, put up some pictures so people can see how they look. So that's what I've been up to, basically, besides just traveling around for work.
Yeah, you've been all over the world, it seems.
No, not really. Not really.
No,
I've been all over Sweden, and I've also been a stint in Germany, actually, for work. And there's a bit of work-related trips going on also in a few weeks, but... It's soon summer, and then it's just pleasure-related.
Yeah, but still, you're
journeys.
You're traveling a lot in the summer as well.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to talk a bit about, of course, the European Championship in Warsaw, which we're going to. And also me and my wife are going on holiday in Scotland. So that's, none of us has been there before, so that's something we're very much looking forward to.
Yeah, I'm envious.
So what have you been up to? Painting a lot as usual, or...
Magnus, should you start or should I? I don't know.
Well, I've also done some terrain stuff, actually. This is kind of a secret project that's been going on for a little while now. We have a new local producer of MDF Terrain.
Yeah.
That is launching a very nice line of dust adjusted terrain.
Yeah, so dust compatible.
Yeah, exactly. So the measurements of stuff will be very good for using on the dust grid. And I've been like co-designing. I've been coming with hints and tips and all kinds of stuff. And of course I have been building and painting some of this stuff. So this will be shown in Warsaw as a display, and as far as I know, some of these kits will also be part of the prize support there. So you can actually win these kits, and I can tell you they are very nice. They are very easy to put together, and nice details, and affordable price. But it's even better if you win them, of course.
Yes, of course.
Free is always nice.
Yeah. Free is always nice, definitely. So I'm seeing a few pictures and looking forward to seeing these for real.
Yeah, me and Ludda also went to Linköping, to the local convention here in Sweden,
Yes.
and we will hear a little bit more about that later. But yeah, we had a good time.
Definitely,
And,
definitely.
Yeah.
It's always very good to go on a road trip and play Dust while you're doing it. Of course, that's a super road trip, and it was of course a little bit sad that Johannes couldn't come. But since as I like to call it nowadays, back in the day when we were starting with Dust in Sweden, we had a lot of road trips, Magnus and I, when we were going around and demoing, and especially we were a few times in Linköping and trying to demo Dust. So it brings back all the good memories about the
good old days.
Yeah, the good old days. Yeah, you don't feel so old. You get, and I think that would be heard on the recordings from the car. Actually,
I think the difference now compared to then is, back then we kind of went and we played games, and if we wanted, we could really win those games.
Yeah.
Nowadays we just, get our faces punched, basically.
Oh, I wouldn't say that much. I got my face half punched once this time. Then I actually trashed and gutted all my opponents because...
Yeah, but, most of the guys that played in Dust Nordic, they did not play in this tournament, so...
It's so true, it's so true. And to be fair, it was a bunch of newbies I was playing against. But since I can't take responsibility for the Lincoln players not showing and hiding in the cafeteria and in the reception and stuff like that.
They must have been scared.
Yeah, because that's
obvious.
And I will take that with me down to Poland, actually. If I happen to meet either Roger or Kalle, I promise I will do my utmost to gut them, especially because since you all know, it's now this. I'm trying to get this rivalry going.
It's personal now.
Yeah, it's so personal since they trashed Nordic, and not that I actually care, but it's fun to have two city banter. I mean, we can't have Linköping being the number one town in Sweden. It has to be Gothenburg, and we have to do our part to are you doing your part? If you remember that one, and if
Would you like
to
know more?
Yes. Thank you, Johannes. You're always a step before me. You always know what I'm thinking. No, but seriously, we will of course have to do something about the Polish situation as well, because when we're in Poland, that is, because wasn't there 1, 2, and 3 last year in the European Championship, and that just doesn't sit right, does it? I'm seriously, 3 Poles on the 3 first places in the European Championship. No. We have to. I sincerely hope.
And since unfortunately I will not be going to Poland this year either, so I guess it's up to you two guys.
Yeah,
to sort this out. Set
but
this straight.
But in that aspect, of course, no, it won't be good if Kalle or Roger does well. I hope they lose badly in Poland. Actually, they go last and second last. But I mean, we got Maurits from Norway. He's the Swedish Norwegian. I root for him to go far in the tournament down there. And of course, I hope Sasha is coming and back from Germany, and that the Germans will put the boot down in Poland. Okay, that perhaps is a little bit strong, but you saw it coming a long way. So, no,
yes,
seriously.
and speaking of Sasha, I just have to say a belated happy birthday.
Yeah, cheers to you, gang.
Yeah.
Skål.
All right, let's talk a bit about some news, because there's been some new exciting releases for the game.
Yeah, let's do.
First off, we have the Allied Rangers Army Box and the Luftwaffe Army Box. We've spoken a bit about these boxes before, but now they are actually released and available to buy in all 3 possible configurations: the Prime, the Premium, and the Model Kit. And there's a whole lot of interesting stuff in these boxes, I would say.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think most exciting for a lot of players, for the Luftwaffe box at least, is that there's a unit in there that's not available to buy primed in any other configuration at the moment.
Yeah.
and that is the plane. And of course,
I have
for
to
the
say
Allied,
that I'm mostly
Guys,
excited
talking
about the Allies box because it contains the mortar team, the Ranger mortar team, which hasn't been available for so long.
Yeah, that's another good.
And if I'm not, if I remember correctly, it was also only available as a premium model back then. It was never released, I think, as a primed.
No, I've never ever seen it buyable, so to speak. We've always been doing it by ourselves with the different parts.
Like a conversion
Yeah.
kit. So this is very nice.
Yeah, definitely.
and of course we also in the Access box we got the Fallschirmjäger missile squad, which also is not available separately at the moment. I don't remember if we talked that much about this before. So maybe we should do that. It's 7 points for a support weapon squad, 2 persons on it. And it's airborne, of course, because it's the Fallschirmjäger. And they are firing a wire-guided missile. And this is not a single fire weapon, which it might look to be.
Yeah.
But rules-wise, it's not. And it has a range of 8, does blast 1 to all different classes of infantry, and does quite a lot of damage, even all the way up to vehicle 7 with 1 dice up to 3 damage there. And of course, it got the wire-guided rule, which means that if this unit attacks with no other weapon, you re-roll misses once when making an attack, and once more if needed when making a sustained attack. So it's basically an extra sustain.
Yeah, it's like 4 dice to try to hit.
Yeah.
Yes.
So even if it's just 1 die to hit, you do get a very good chance of hitting with this.
Definitely.
So this could be a really, really good unit, I feel.
Yeah, and I think that, of course, if they are... if they remain stationary, so they fire with a sustained attack, they have a very good possibility to hit. But I will say don't underestimate the movement of these guys, because they have move 2-3.
That is very unusual.
Which is, a lot of the support weapons, they have move like 1-3.
Yep.
So these guys can move 2 squares and fire with a wire-guided missile, giving them a reroll. So they can be... they can give you some nasty surprise.
Yeah, they're like the Tesla battery. They're also 2-3.
Yeah.
And that's also a very useful combination when you can advance and shoot 8, which is the same thing, actually, because they also shoot 8. So you get those 10 squares into the game board from where you deploy. And that's always helpful. That's always helpful.
Definitely. And if we look again at the Rangers box, like we said, we got the mortar team. We got the Heavy Ranger attack squad, the Heavy Ranger tank counter squad, and the Bulldog. So if you want to get a box where you get your money's worth, this is definitely one of them, because the Bulldog is just an incredible unit.
And that's a very big punch in so many ways with that, because they all have those power fists, so they can really punch through something big that comes their way. They have the bazookas, they got the bulldozer, bulldog, as you say, and they all of the 3 guys with the machine guns can take down 1 squad each, so almost at least, and a little bit of cover or perhaps a mortar on that. It's not bad. It's not bad.
Yeah, this Allied Army box is very diverse. It can handle a lot of different targets.
Yeah.
The one thing that it can't handle, really well is probably against aircraft. But you still have those machine guns that can shoot some stuff. So
and you get the rocket punches for the
Yeah,
infantry,
of course,
so they
but-
could.
Yeah, but they don't roll too many dice, and you have to be super close and everything. So I'm still seeing anti-aircraft as this army box sort of weakness, but they still have it. Don't get me wrong, they still have it. So, but against infantry and vehicles, they have brutal punch.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So some really cool boxes there. Next up, we got another interesting box. This is the Mercenary and Mythos Crocodile Conversion Set. So if you combine this with the appropriate model kit from, say, Tamiya, then you can build one of these, or even both, because this kit includes the bits to build both variants, not just one of them, which is very cool. So even if you don't use more than one of these, if you're not interested in the Mythos or in the Mercenaries, maybe you can split the kit with a friend. So yeah, really interesting, and that they are incredibly similar, these two units. They have some slight variation on the hull-mounted machine gun, but they are otherwise basically the same unit. So that's a really cool thing. And speaking of the Mythos, we also got a new unit released for them, the Deadly Tilly. And I love this. As with all the Mythos vehicles, it looks so cool. I love this paint scheme, and it looks so badass. We see the same type of the cultists inside the car as we saw with the Raider. But this time we got one of those fez-wearing male cultists on the back of the car.
Equality!
Yes, finally. This is really cool. It's 4 points for this little car. No special rules whatsoever. Only 2 hit points. Not that much movement either. It's move 3, march 4. But it has some punch. It got a top-mounted front machine gun, range 6, 7 at soldier 1, so the basic machine gun stats. And then we got the old submachine guns. That's for the passengers. So one on the right and one on the left. So this is a good unit, I would say, for just harassing other infantry.
Yeah, definitely. You can't just leave it be all the time. I mean, the big plus is that it only takes perhaps one shotgun to really shoot it, so to speak, because it's so weak. But it's still,
it's fairly similar to a couple of the other vehicles, but it's a nice one, and also, I mean, it gives some variety as how it looks compared to the others.
Yeah, and I think that's the big thing that I take. It's just the visual quality that you can make a visually distinct and interesting army for the Mythos, and that's the thing I really enjoy with it.
Yeah, I really look forward to when you're going to play like 200 points or something, Johannes, and you will have perhaps 2-3 big monsters, and then you will swarm with all these, because you have like gazillions of every of the small shit, so you can really like just make it like a tidal wave, and in this tidal wave you see these huge giants come walking. It's going to be epic.
That's going to be very, very cool. I'm also looking forward to that at some point. Next up, we got the re-release. We got the Josef tank for the SSU, now released in a premium Zverograd pattern. So again, we've kind of seen this a while now, re-releases of some classic SSU units in the Zverograd pattern, and this is another one. It's only been, this was one of these units that were released along with Babylon.
Yeah, the original Kickstarter, and it's such a beautiful tank. It's such a versatile tank. I personally only have 2, but I would love to have at least one more. I think that I've talked about this too many times, and I should have had Josef's now when going to Poland. I was thinking about it, actually, having 1 or 2 with me. Unfortunately, I chose for other tracked vehicles in my army because they do certain things, and they are very good as an all-around tank. But I felt in my composition that I needed to add things I don't wanted to add just to get the balance of the army. But sincerely, you need a Josef in your army if you're an SSU player. It's just
such a heavy hitter.
Yeah, with that flamethrower going 2, and all the machine guns and that big heavy gun. It is, of course, SSU still has that little problem, since I'm going to do that. I can out it now. I'm going to cheat when I go to Poland. You know I do. I'm going to do Koshka in a tank, which is fucking awful, and I'm actually ashamed of it, but it's a tournament, so I do it. A little bit of a hypocrite you have to be. But the thing is that apart from Koshka, you don't have any other tank pilot for the SSU. And I know the SSU has a lot of heroes, so I'm not complaining that way.
You mean in the block?
No, because you get Nikolai, of course.
Yeah.
But he's the only tank pilot, so to speak. And he's also you lose your block bonus,
Yeah.
or you lose a bonus. You should have had someone. It doesn't have to be that good of a pilot, but a pilot should be nice to have, because to me Koshka should be in Grandma. So this, when we put her in the tank, I think we're corrupting the.
We've talked about this several times. So this is a wish from me, or maybe from us, I think, to the studio to make more pilots, both for vehicles and for aircraft, I suppose, because they bring cool stuff to the table, more variety.
Yeah, and they don't have to be those superheroes that do 500 skills. They can have one skill each, just that you boost your tank just a little bit, and that tank becomes your hero tank, so to speak. And then you have the other tanks falling in line, because you always have a commander in your tank platoon, or if you, I mean,
and that's also a good way if it's just a small boost and it's not that super big thing, then you might also have the opportunity to make an interesting platoon around that hero.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of design space there, I think.
Yeah. Because the Russian tanks are super, they are very good, and I'm not complaining at all on their stats, but the fact that they only have one die each when they roll and it's very hard hitting stuff with them. When you hit, they die. I mean, anything just goes crumbling when the Russian tanks come, if they hit. But you would like to have some little bit more balance, that you could perhaps, you could have a lot of
that's
HQs
also dangerous. So it's very, game-wise, it's kind of dangerous to bring a pilot that makes them, hit better in any way, because they hit so hard. So, but I'm all with you. Give them a pilot that does something else. I don't know exactly what, but you can either invent something completely new, or just choose some different kind of combination of stuff.
Yeah, since we have the Red Ace, who only reactivates pilots, choppers, why not have a commander that only, he had to pilot a tank, and then he can reactivate other tanks.
Yeah.
So you can have,
something like that, or maybe, I don't know, just on the top of my head, for example, at the double.
Yeah, that would also be good.
That's a cool skill that would give you some completely new options with these tanks. They are normally very slow, they hang back and use, and suddenly, you can do some burst of speed to achieve an objective or whatever. So, yeah.
Or perhaps re-rolling the breakthrough platoon die, because I have a lot of times forgotten to roll the breakthrough platoon die, because you
a hero that would make your memory better.
Yeah, that's oh yeah, now we're talking. It's finally, and it only works for Russian players. Selective memory. Da. Okay,
yes.
Sorry.
Perfect.
Okay, have we gone off topic a lot now, Johannes? Do you want to bring us back
to more than usual? I think. The final two releases that's been the most recent weeks, two different sets of premium tank traps, so some scenery kits, the tank traps set A and tank traps set B. These are also in the Babylon pattern.
Yeah, and we don't let that hinder us or stop us in any way.
Of course, if you can always paint them yourself in different ways if you want them. In the basic concrete color is just the same. It's basically just the dusting or whatever you want to call it, like the weathering around the bases. So you can probably paint the premium versions to fit in on your table, even if it's some set somewhere else.
Yeah, and we had the pleasure of getting some of these a few years back, and it actually it really was better to my mind than it really took the tank traps to the next level when you're used to the plastic ones or the ones that you made yourself from cork, which is a good way to use your spent wine bottles. Hint, hint. Know what I mean. And then, but those scenic tank traps, the structure of them and the little small extra details on the steel bulk that is coming up there, balks. Perhaps they do that little extra for your gaming table. So they do more than you think. You can see them just as tank traps, but when you put these on the table, they elevate your gaming experience.
The hard plastics that you get in the starter kits and older sets as well, they are nice and all, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. There's nothing wrong with them.
But for me, the thing is, they all look exactly the same.
Oh, yeah.
And they are also not that detailed.
No, so yeah, exactly. These are more detailed, and you know, they look a little bit different, and they are put at an angle, and some of them are like 2 or even maybe 3 together on a sort of base. So you get that variety, something that kind of breaks up the battlefield a little bit. So yeah, these are very nice.
Yeah. I just like to add that, you know, because you see a tank trap and you think, it's just a tank trap, but actually they are more than tank traps, I would say. And I'd like to do them justice. Sorry.
Yeah.
Right, let's go to mail call. We have some interesting questions from our listeners that we're going to try and answer. And first off, we got our serial question asker, Brian Keith Younes. What did you guys think of the recent clarification by Oliver that you can take captured vehicles as part of your force and they don't count against getting your block or faction bonus? So just to be clear what he's talking about here, a few weeks ago I think there was a discussion on Facebook. If you take a vehicle as a captured vehicle that in the original version is part of a faction. Let's say a tropical KB-47 that's part of the Spetsnaz faction. If you use that for your allied army, does that mean that you cannot get the faction bonus because you're using technically a vehicle that's from another faction? And Oliver said that, no, that's not the case. It's a captured vehicle, so it's part of your faction, it's part of your block now.
You paid the 2 extra points for it.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's okay.
And that's very good. You are these are supposed. I think this rule is supposed to be there for flavor more than it's a power gaming rule.
Yeah, I mean there's a limit. You can use 1 captured vehicle.
Yeah,
and also from a specific list.
And from a specific list. Yeah, so your choices are already very limited. If it also would keep you from getting your faction bonus, that would be a really harsh blow. And I mean, practically nobody would use those vehicles at all ever,
no.
More or less. So, yeah, I think it's a good choice from Olivier in this case.
I think so too. I think it's totally in the line with the game and everything. I'm always interested though into personalize my armies and do a little bit more specials, as you all know. I think I could have. I think it could be about time now that since the armies are growing. I mean, when the captured vehicle came, we had 100-point armies, and now we're coming closer to 150. So perhaps why not allow 2 captured vehicles and perhaps have a penalty for 4 extra points for the second one, or 3 extra points, a little bit more. But I know you don't want everyone to feel the same units and stuff like that, but I think that just having that option and making it a little bit more expensive could make players use it more for the flavor and to personalize than to try to win games by it. And I think it could be kind of cool, because if you picture an army or a unit that has been out fighting for several years, they would have picked up a few things now and again. Then I actually wouldn't had perhaps introduce that you could have a weapon line. This perhaps makes it too blurry, but have a weapon line from another other armies. I mean, I could capture your rocket launcher, or I could do 1 unit with your machine guns or something like that because I picked them up on the way. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like
that would be cool. I agree with you. So, but at the same time, it makes it a little bit more complicated to put stuff together. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe for like a future edition of the game or something like that. What I would like to see that could be done like right now without too much playtesting, I think, is to add a couple of vehicles to those lists, because the lists for captured vehicles aren't that long.
No.
And so far, a list for IGN vehicles, captured IGN vehicles don't exist at all.
No.
So I'm hoping that the studio will kind of revise the lists for captured vehicles.
Yeah,
I agree. Maybe in the case of specifically IJN, they are so new to the game, so maybe wait a while for that. But there have been releases for all the blocks that have vehicles that could be captured in one way or another. I definitely think that should be something to look at least.
And of course, you have to, in the future, you have to be able to capture a Cthulhu monster. So you have him, you have him on a leash or something, like I've trained this one. No, that perhaps should be too far. But I mean, it could be. Well, what I really would love to do for people should be able to do for the IGN is when you get those controlled robots. When we get that, those robots that will walk by themselves, kill by themselves, and because I could, for my fraction, I could have taken one of those, just put it in stasis or something. I mean, put it powered down, and then I just release it on the battlefield because it's supposed to be killing everything. So I can just gamble on, okay, one of those units, just throw them out there and see who they kill. Everyone should be able to capture those, I think.
Yeah, it could be possible. We will have to wait and see exactly how those are going to work in the game.
I think actually those are one of those. No, of course. I wait for the special close combat frogs for the SSU, of course.
Yeah, the steel guards.
Yeah, the steel guards, the new Tesla ones. Those are, of course, my prime.
My Axis army should definitely be able to capture those.
Okay, yeah. Now you know he's not serious. Yeah, now you know. We have to put a Tesla rod on Magnus later here, I think, to correct him. No, but actually, except from those steel guards, I think those Japanese walkers or semi-infantry walker android stuff are the ones that I wait for most, anticipate most. Well, just going off track, of course.
Our next question comes from Oliver Galka. Would you like to see Dust with warships? And if so, what ships would you like to see? We kind of had a small discussion about this before the show, and we have some different opinions that, of course, you could probably do a separate game because the scale is so much different. I mean, a warship
I'm not sure, Oliver, what you mean by this question. Do you mean like playing a regular game of Dust with some water and have a battleship?
It seems like that
somehow.
that would add like more of a scenery piece more than a unit piece.
I guess you could make some special scenario rules if you have. I mean, in the old game you had the tiles of the submarine, which you could interact with in different ways and move on to and stuff like that.
But that's also submarines are so much smaller if you compare to battleships.
And still they are like a lot bigger than those tiles. So the scale will be a problem if you try to play a regular game and include ships, maybe except for like landing crafts, which aren't that big. But yeah, I suppose Dust could be played in a different scale with ships. I mean, it's a fairly simple system using grids or even measuring in inches or centimeters. I guess it's possible.
Yeah, the thing I'm concerned with there, if you don't get to capture the feeling of a naval battle, because there are different movement dynamics. You can't just turn on a dime with a warship.
No, that's true. You would probably need to make some kind of special movement rules for ships.
So I think it's an interesting idea, but it seems like it's a different game from ordinary Dust.
Yeah, it would be super fun to play because I love those little Navy ship battles, and I would love to pit my battleships again and my hangars against, because you can have like a prelude and then, okay, now we fought outside the island, now we fight on the island. It's like a two-step scenario we're playing. But of course, another scale and stuff like that. I get the impression that at the moment, the studio is a few years away from being able to do a game like this. But I would have loved to see.
Yeah, I remember Olivier. He mentioned in the special Q&A we had that he really likes small-scale games and the feel of that. So I wouldn't be surprised if it happens sometimes in the future. But we're probably a few years away from that.
When we hear about it officially, there's probably still a few years left before we can actually play it.
Definitely.
I would think.
And as Magnus said there, if Oliver was able to play the big, humongous Japanese walkers wading through the waters and shooting out battleships, I think he will make pleasurable, strange sounds with his mouth. So I think we could. It's not impossible this could happen, but 5-10 years out, perhaps, I don't know.
Yeah, and going back to the question we got here from Oliver Galka, he asked what ship would we like to see. Personally, I have really no idea because battleship isn't really my thing. It's it's interesting, but I haven't read too much about those. So
well, it's one that has to be, and we have to have it if it's a game like this. It's of course the Kraken. Or both Krakens, because I think it's 2 now. So those we need to have if this ever happens.
Of course.
And those Japanese mega walkers that wade through the... And I don't know what kind of Cthulhu monsters will be with all the arms and legs and what...
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can do something. I mean, they could just... rise up from the ocean and like break a warship in half with the tentacles. And
the only one that has the close combat. Oh, the big robots, walkers, has to have, of course, close combat
so
as well.
You could do like a Pacific Rim in the Dust universe kind of battles.
Definitely. I'm all for it. Cool. I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I think those movies are shit, but I would love to play it. I would love to play it.
Okay, and our next questions come from Jeff McKayan, and he has 2 questions for us. First off, do you have or play many 3 or 4 player scenarios, and do you think a team format is possible for tournament play in the future, such as a 2 versus 2 team play? Absolutely, I think that's a marvelous idea.
Since it has been possible in the past.
Yes,
I mean, there's not an official format or something like that, but we have played team tournaments, 2 against 2, and it works just fine.
Definitely.
So.
I would be super excited for this, or really enjoy that.
So we haven't seen that many official 3 or 4 player scenarios, but if you do that team play, if you go 2 on 2 or even 3 on 3, it's very easy to adapt the standard scenarios for that, because you still have, instead of for that player, you just replace that with for that team. And definitely. You're done in most cases. Maybe just expand the sizes, go with 3 mats or even 4 mats. Just to accommodate more units.
Oh yeah, and or why not just play with two tables with 2 mats, and then they affect each other. You can always go bonanza and let your big range vehicles shoot on different. I mean, I could call down artillery from the other table if you have a certain range on your artillery and you have observers. So it would be.
There's a lot of fun things you can do.
Yeah,
definitely.
You can have your airplanes fly from one board to the other board, and I mean.
And I've heard of that I think in other games, that they had this kind of general thing going on, that you have big teams of players going on, and one player is the general, and they are looking at a big, like, not world map, but a big map of the area that they're fighting, and their teammates are each fighting their separate battles in different rooms, and you have to send orders and such between rooms, and it's a lot of admin to do something like that. It's going to take a lot of time, but I think it could be really thematic and really fun. Yeah.
I just even if that would perhaps not be so interesting a certain time, but I mean, being the one that sits in a room and waiting for results, but then suddenly someone come rushing and say, okay, we've broken through, what should I do now? And he's like, okay, you broke through, okay, you gotta go right, or something, you gotta take that one, try to hold this one, because if we seem to be winning on that table or something, now we can have to secure the objective over here, and and then afterwards going and watching the results in different rooms. But I mean,
I remember playing this kind of scenario. It was a long time ago on a convention, but it was super fun. I was playing one of the one of the battles, basically.
Yeah. So one of the lieutenants.
So I had some orders like you need to go over here and I can't remember, destroy this objective or something like that. And I managed, I think, I don't know if I managed like my primary objective or my secondary, and then it was time to give the report to the general. And we had this sort of moderator who kind of oversaw everything to make it go smooth. And I was sent in to the general, and I had, I think, maybe 30 seconds or something to give my report. So it was like timed, which made it super fun, actually. It was really stressful, but super fun, to kind of simulate these stressful conditions. And maybe you can't tell him everything because you don't have time, and maybe he can't give you, exact orders because he did not have time or did not understand everything. So, that was super fun.
Yeah, and I'd just like to add now also that, of course, I would love to see if we in the future could have some type of nation versus nation or Europe versus USA. I've been mentioning this in a few words to Marek, and perhaps he's not dismissing it entirely. I think he was quite intrigued. It all, of course, has to hinge on the fact that the Americans come here or we go to America. But I mean, I love those. I'm not an avid golf player, but I really love the Ryder Cup and the Ryder Cup scenario when they play for a few days and in individual, and they get points, and then they play in teams, 2 and 2 versus 2 and 2, and it still adds up to the nation or the continent total. I think that could be super fun tournaments, and you can do that, of course, at game club versus game club as well, or state versus state if you're in America, stuff like that. So it could be, and of course Göteborg versus Linköping. Sorry, I had to put it out there.
So obvious.
So obvious.
And the second question from Jeff, which we actually kind of tangentially touched there. When are you guys coming across the pond to play in the US? And we have some ideas, actually, not to say too much, but there are some preliminary plans.
Yeah.
And I don't think they are quite far enough yet to actually promise anything. But yes, there is some plans going on for maybe at least next year.
Yeah, there's a hysterical possibility that eventually maybe we could be en route to the US in the spring, early summer, something like that next year, if we're lucky. But it has... That's very, very. It hinges on very, very specific things happening from now till then.
If the stars align,
stuff like that. It's and it's a little bit tragic because I would love to go to the U.S., meet a lot of people, and play a lot of dust, and just see the country and stuff like that. The thing is, of course, with the money aspect, that at least I feel like if I go to the U.S. once, that will probably my second time, like the first and last, because I don't know if I can muster the economy 2 times. So then you have to go and do everything.
Yeah, make the most of it.
Yeah, because it's so much to see, so much you've heard and read about and seen in movies and shit. You just need to, do that all.
But of course, it's a lot of pressure, and you have to just come to terms with the fact that you can't take it all in. It's just impossible.
No, but of course, if we should be a little bit, I don't know, rude, we can always say when, Jeffrey, when you and some other Americans come together and gives us a tour plan, so we can stay at a few of your houses perhaps and do the road trip and know that we have a port of call now and again. So why not? Let's work together and do this. I think that it could be
get together and it'll be all right. Yeah.
Johannes is singing. This is just getting better and better.
All right, and our final question for this episode comes from Adam Shagan. What are you hoping going to be in the anticipated PLA and Mercenary army boxes? Yeah, that's a difficult question, I think, especially for the PLA. That the kind of rule so far has been that there's been medium to heavy vehicles, and there really are no such vehicles, especially except for maybe the Grom.
The new upcoming amphibious tank.
That's probably a
that's
good
what
call.
I want in there.
Yes.
Yeah. Also, if you get the new, well, I hope this is okay to say, but the new Katushka PT-47, that one,
that's also
that doesn't have to be a heavy, because that is going to range hell over all and above. Or be the special one, have 2 of those instead, or one, or perhaps they have the one PT-47 D or C or whatever the constellation will be for it, and then just one more of the other ones, perhaps 2 of those new PT-47s with no heavy weapons, because they will be special.
And of course, what the PLA really needs is more infantry. So I would say at least one new infantry squad in such an army box would be good.
Definitely, and that goes, of course, without saying for the Mercs as well. We are crying out for the second Merc infantry squad, preferably something with ranged weaponry. I would say 6 or 8 range on something. I don't know.
I feel the same with I can't say anything specific that I would like these boxes to have, except new stuff, because both PLA and Mercs, they need some new stuff. So
I would say, if you talk about specifics and Mercs, what I've been wanting for a while is a mercenary vehicle based on the heavy allied walkers, like the Sky Sweeper. Some mercenary variant of that, but with a different turret base, maybe.
Yeah, that would be very super cool if you take that platform for the Sky Sweeper. And since they always love to give them a different type of weapon, perhaps for light lasers instead of machine guns, instead of all these machine guns that they have. And I don't know. And perhaps a big artillery thing in the middle there.
Yeah.
Like a redone Red Rain in the middle of that one, and lasers on the sides. I think that could be a hysterical combo, that one. But of course, we also talked about this endless times. We want the Mercs vehicle to be an aircraft, and we want Amelia in there. So still, just keep me going with that one.
yeah, that's true.
Okay. Well, good folks.
I'm speechless.
I put huge ice cream into the mouths of my co-host here. So that's why it's all of a sudden this static or lack of words. They're shaped like skulls as well. So, yeah.
And the second part of Adam's question is there any type of deployment that you prefer or dislike? Short or long edges or corners?
No, I don't think I dislike anyone. I am a little bit antsy on the fact that in Warsaw they will have in the center of the long edges deployment zones. I could have done without that. I think it's because it depends on, of course, if I have to play that 5 times or 3 or 4. If I only play it once, it will be fun. But I think I think it's good with a little bit of distance. I still think that the ones that need close combat and get into close combat still has so much ways of getting into close combat that I feel like it's better with distance. So corner to corner or short edge to short edge, I think is my favorites. I don't know.
As usual, I prefer the variety. Definitely in a tournament, I prefer to have all kinds. So no particular type of army or style of play will be favored. If you only play like long edge deployment, meaning fairly short distance between the army, armies with close combat and or short range weaponry will kind of dominate. And the opposite, of course, if you only play short edge deployment with long distance between the armies, those big guns will dominate. Meaning, it will not be as fun. You will not see as diverse armies in the tournament. So
it's so true. It's so true. It's just that the majority of tournaments and games are played on 2 mats still. So when you now get the possibilities in Warsaw to play on 3 mats, you would love to have more long range because it would give more variety to your normal game time. But otherwise, I totally agree with you, Magnus, that it has to be a balance. So you can't come with a certain type of army and just win everything. Yeah. And on that note, I like to just add here also as well that this year I feel it's the first championship ever where I actually can't just construct an army that will win every single game and will be invincible. I know our friend Roger thinks his ninjas are still invincible, but seriously, I don't think with these so widely scenarios for Warsaw, I know I'm jumping ahead now, we should talk about this later actually, but they have done a really good job of being unpredictable, I think.
Yeah, cool. Mm-hmm. So let's just jump to tournament talk then. But before we get to Warsaw, let's talk a bit about Linköping again.
Yeah, please.
Because you were there, you played in the tournament.
That's so true. That's so true. We both. So Magnus perhaps don't want to talk about it, but I have no problem talking about it.
No, that's fine. No problem.
And you, well. It was a nice little setting there, and we had the fortune of being 16
players.
14 players, I think. Yeah. So we all got to play 4 games. It was very quick games. It was only 90 minutes games, but it was on 2 mats and only 100 points. So
and fairly like easy or streamlined scenarios. So I think it worked well. I think 2 of my 4 games went to time to dice down.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
The other 2 was finished well before time, so I had really not that much of a problem.
No. I was way ahead of the time every single game. I had no problem with the timetable. I also had the pleasure of facing kind of different armies. I don't know. The first one was 3 big Cthulhu monsters.
Oh yeah.
And that of course could have gone south if I would have come with another army than I had, but I managed to basically castrate 2 of them in the first round, and then it was brutal. The combination there.
As far as I saw, there were 2 Mythos players. Which one are you talking about now?
Yeah, not the one from Nordic. This is the guy.
So you are talking about 2 avatars of Nyarlathotep
and one of the spawns.
Right.
So and he was stepping up in the middle there, trying to hide, but I tasseled him, and I think I took 9 lives in the first round, and then the other one got a little bit scared, so he held that one back and tried to circle me with the third one there, the spawn. But since this combination of Koshka, Alexander, and an HQ, especially with an HQ in a command wagon, is kind of almost ridiculous, especially if you face certain types of armies. So he had it was a hard sell for him to try to do something in that game.
That's one of the problems with that type of list, is that you put a lot of eggs in one basket, basically.
Yeah.
So, and you also did a little interview with the organizer of the tournament, Emil.
Yeah. I have some interviews with Emil, and we have some stuff from the car with me and Magnus. So we will give you now a sample of a little bit of both, everything. Road trip. You're here with me, Ludda, and as almost always by my side, to the left of me, we have
Magnus.
Also known as
the driver of the car.
Yeah, you heard it here, folks. I've been kidnapped and put into this car by the small bearded dwarf beside me called Magnus. And we are being kidnapped and hoosed away to Lincoln in Linköping. We are on a 2-day trip, might be 2.5. And we're off to Sweden's next biggest convention called Lincoln. We will play some Dust, of course, with a Dust tournament. And we will enjoy ourselves with other hobby people. Magnus, let's start with you now. What will you take out of this trip, you think?
Hopefully I will keep my sanity, but I'm not sure since you are beside me in the car.
How true, how true. I will do my best, of course, to corrupt Magnus in the best way and form as I can. Magnus, you've been to these conventions quite a lot over the past couple of years. Do you know which one in numerical order this is for you to go into Lincoln?
I have no idea. I've been to Lincoln several times. I was not there last year. I missed that, unfortunately. But anyways, now we are going back, and I like Lincoln. It's always a great place, always a great event. And this time it seems that there are a bunch of new players playing Dust, so I'm looking forward to that, meeting new guys. And yeah, I'm hoping we're going to have a great time.
Yeah, there's a lot of special things with Lincoln. Not only there are special burgers with their grill outside, so you actually have to fetch your food on the grass plains outside of the building. That's a little bit special. But what is the best things about Lincoln, would you say, Magnus?
Yeah, there are always a bunch of different events. I mean, this is a gaming convention, so they will have a whole lot of different miniature games and always nice dioramas and stuff. So, you know, look and see some new cool things. And of course also always very nice people. So I enjoy just walking around, saying hello to guys and yeah, talking to people.
But this time also, as you pointed out there, Magnus, it's a bunch of new players. And it goes further than that. This is actually personal this time, or at least for me, and I sincerely hope so for you, Magnus, because those people from Linköping and Tranås, they came and they totally wrecked the Gothenburg Nordic tournament. They took every prizes, they won everything. Now I heard they've gone to hiding, so a lot of their top players won't be attending this tournament, but we just have to more or less physically pull these guys apart. We will have to rip them to shreds and annihilate them for the good of the Gothenburg players. How far will you go in this dismantling of the Linköping and Tranås scene?
Well, my army this time contains a bunch of fairly big walkers, so I'm planning on stomping them. I'm planning them, you know, kind of flattening them, running straight over them this time.
So good to hear, Magnus. That fills me with joy and excitement for this tournament. And also, actually, I'm doing almost the same. But I have tons of big armored tanks. This is going to be an SSU heavy tank platoon that will them over. Oh, sorry, that's that word again there. But they will totally annihilate. I will run. And when I've run over them, I will back over them again just to make sure that they stay dead. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it sounds like a good plan. So yeah, we'll just have to see if that, you know, comes to fruition.
All right, so it seems you had a boisterous evening in the car there.
Yeah, as I said before, this is always fun to be in a car with Magnus. It's one of my highlights in my life. It could be tragic, but it's just...
Let's just say it's a very good that you did not turn on the microphone like all the way. No. Some things should not be recorded. That's for sure.
No, I only have the pictures.
And you have to pay to see those.
No, definitely. Those are
very
exclusive.
expensive.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I think you have some more recordings there in the if you want to do them as well.
interrogation.
No, this is no interrogation. This is Dust War Journals, and we're sitting here with Emil, the tournament organizer of the Lincoln tournament this year. So, this is your first Dust tournament organizing, or what?
Yes, it is. First time, and the most people from Linköping can't participate because they are arranged in the big convent Lincoln.
Okay, but that's nothing personal, Emil. That's just to give more room for us, all the other of us, to take part in this tournament. But you're not new to arranging tournaments, if I understand it correctly.
No, I'm not. I have arranged tournaments for 5 or 6 years in other games.
Yeah, so you started playing Dust a few years ago, or was it last year? Or
it was at Linköping's Day of Dust last autumn, so it's not a year ago.
And you're already a tournament organizer. That's impressive.
Thank you.
Okay, so what's your expectation for this tournament, your first Dust tournament?
Well, I have some tradition at every tournament at Lincoln. I come at second place, so I don't want to win because you shouldn't win your own tournaments.
That seems like a good expectation for the tournament, and there seems to be a lot of sweaty and hairy men here, so this is going to be a great tournament. And that's a reference to a conversation me and Magnus had in the car, so it's okay but if you want to comment on that, it's totally fine.
I agree with you. This should be a fun day, and I hope everyone will enjoy it.
Great. We'll be back in a few moments. Stay tuned. So the tournament is over, and I'm sitting here once again with Emil. Emil, what do you think about this tournament?
I think it was great. Everyone was happy, and I think everyone has fun playing.
Yeah, and you had some special modification to the scenarios. Could you tell me a little bit how you thought about the scenarios beforehand?
I wanted 4 scenarios with different deployments and a bit different objectives. There was the main thing was take the objectives, but a small difference in the missions.
Yeah, it's always nice when every tournament is a little bit different. I always used to say that, and this was a little bit straightforward, but also with a twist. So I felt it was, you could feel at home, but also it was a little challenge, so to speak, extra.
Thanks you that you liked it.
Yeah, I had a good time. My objective was, of course, to beat as many from Tranås and Linköping as I could, and you gave me 3 opponents, and I beat them all. So I'm, of course, happy. For your own sake, how did it? You don't have to say where you ended up in the rankings because we haven't had the prize ceremony yet. But how did you fare?
Well, I won 3 of my 4 games, so. It went very well, and of course when you play NDAC, always the shoppers is the problem, and so was it this time as well.
Yeah, those damn shoppers, they are always in the way for some reason. But you have a very nice, a little thing with your color scheme there, that you paint your caps and your helmets in a special blue color. Could you tell the listeners a little bit about that?
Well, in the Dust universe, the UN army they doesn't exist. So I painted my NDAC in those colors. So everyone got berets except the security squad, because the gas masks are cool.
Yeah, a few gas masks is always good in an army when it comes to Dust, and it really makes it stand out. I mean, it's a good painted army normally, but those little blue details, they really make it a unison for the whole every unit, and really an army color for it. I think it's very, very good thing for you to do something like that.
Thank you. It will be exciting to see what I will do with my next army.
You have something special going on there in your hobby room?
Well, not in the hobby room yet, because the minis are still in the Polish customs. Marek is from War Factory is working to get them through. I was hoping they should be delivered before the tournament, but as he said, no promises.
No, the Polish customs, you shouldn't make any promises when it comes to them. Same thing with the Swedish customs, I would say. Our Swedish postal service can place parcels all over the world, it seems someday. So it's really hell when you buy from abroad.
Yeah, it's quite fun to know that it's the same in every country, not only in Sweden.
So true, so true. But Emil, could you tell us a little bit more? Why did you get into Dust in the first place?
It was last summer. I was at a convent in Varberg and arranged a tournament in War Master. And the day after, I had nothing to do, so I just, wow, that looks cool, and asked little. And they had a demonstration of Dust. Oh, come and play and try it. And I really liked the grid. It was something different from all other games.
So you're not used to playing on grid then? You're free-forming, so to speak?
Yes.
What other games have you played before? From where did you come, so to speak?
I have played Warhammer 40k, War Master, a little bit of Epic. I think that's it.
Yeah, well, that's a rich background, okay. But what was it with the grid that really made you think that this was a good game to play?
I had 1 year ago when I was demonstrating War Master, there was a player who was there with only one hand. And that's quite tough to measure, especially in tournaments when people are counting millimeters and it's important. In Dust, you count squares and that's it. And that's real nice for people who have some problems, even if you have problems with your eyes and can't measure distance in the same. So I think it's a great game for including more people.
Yeah, definitely. That's very good points there, Emil. The Dust really helps to not have those problems with measuring and moving and stuff like that. So it's a good point. But also, final question, of course. What's your favorite unit in Dust?
I would say tank hunters, because all tournaments, some of them has been heroes. They have placed themselves with no ammo on a rooftop contesting objective, and 5 units are shooting at them, and this single guy is still standing there. So,
splendid. Yeah, we all have our special units. Now I think it's high time for Emil to go and prepare the prize ceremony so he can round off the tournament. But we thank you very much for the interview and for the tournament in itself.
Thank you for participating.
Yeah, very nice indeed.
Yeah, there's a few words there, and Emil was very kind to participate twice. So I think it was a nice tournament.
Yeah, and congratulations to Essa for winning.
Yeah, we have to say congratulations to him, unfortunately. And it's of course, a personally huge setback to have 2 Linköping in the final there.
I don't know really what went wrong, but it was, not according to the plans, obviously, but,
well,
shit happens.
It does, but also I'm not that overly irritated afterwards, because I faced 3 from Linköping Tranås and I totally annihilated them. Kill points was over 300, I think 318 on me, and I basically almost didn't kill anything from Maurits. That was my only defeat. And since he's not from Linköping, he's
he gets a free pass.
Yeah, he gets a free pass. So it was all no hard feelings there. It was so I think I did what I set out to do. Everyone who was from the wrong side of Sweden, I ripped to pieces actually. Fair. I could have faced perhaps harder opposition, not to anything bad about the opponents I had, but I mean, and I had the biggest kill point. No one was even close to me. 270, I think, was the. So I feel it was okay. It was okay. It worked out.
And Magnus, how do you feel about your performance?
Yeah, it was okay. I played the kind of old school army. I played, like I mentioned there in the clip, a very similar army to to a game we played earlier, Luda. And it's an army that I enjoy. It's very fun to play, and it includes some of those really iconic units.
The classics like Ludwig and the original Axis Walkers.
Yeah,
and
sort
units
of. And I like it. I like how it looks. I like how it performs, even if it don't really have... it's a sort of like very diverse army, but it don't really have that edge, I feel, that maybe is needed sometime. But anyways, it was okay. And this time I managed to play against both the Mythos players. And for a while I have been kind of dodging that. I don't know why, because we have seen Mythos players in the tournaments, but I did not get to play them basically. But this time I played both, which was kind of fun. And it was actually fairly different Mythos armies, even though the Mythos don't have that much stuff to choose from. So that was kind of interesting as well to see how they can behave already by now, what's out there. So I'm looking forward to seeing how the Mythos will behave when even more stuff comes out, you know, all the HQs and the heroes and stuff like that. So
I just still dread those HQs for the Mythos creatures. I mean, Rasputin and all the the HQ. Oh, sorry. Yes. Well, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, that was interesting. I mean, you mentioned earlier how you used the Teslas to take care of them. Since I was playing Axis, I did not have any Teslas, of course, but my army, many of those Soldier 2 Axis infantry units, that they have Panzerfausts. Not that many in each unit, but every unit they have Panzerfaust. And I also had my command unit in the Command Walker. In those two games I did a lot of ammo drop and then reactivate. So the Panzerfaust, they really saw some use in those two games.
I can imagine.
So that was fun. And the other two games I played was against one SSU army and against an Axis army. And against the SSU army, it was super close. I thought I was going to win that game, but in the end I lost with 3 kill points only. So it was super close. And against the Axis army, it was against Jonathan, who is a good
monkeys,
player and always brings some cool army. And this time he brought almost all the monkeys you can imagine.
400 points,
plus one headquarter with...
Blutkreuz headquarter.
Blutkreuz headquarter in a command vehicle. And I didn't quite manage to kill as much monkeys as I needed. I mean, they kind of overwhelm you, but as long as you can, whittle them down, you can make it. But I always felt that I killed like one monkey too little.
I totally get you.
Yeah, so in the end, there were a bunch of monkey units there with 1 or 2 models left, and because I couldn't get rid of them. So
those two armies there, Jonathan's monkey army and the other Cthulhu with the big 2, what's that new avatar called?
The Avatar of Cthulhu.
Yeah, the Avatar of Cthulhu. It's so simple, I forget it. But since he had 2 of those...
No, he only had 1. This time
only one. Okay, so in Nordic he was 2.
Played with 2.
So.
Yeah, but this time he only had 1.
Okay. But that would have been nice to try out and see if I could have stopped that. But the monkeys, my list, since when you play only 2 mats, the monkeys really get into your face too quickly. So that would have been very interesting to see how I have reacted to try to stop that avalanche of monkeys. I love that army Jonathan had put together. I really think it was good army.
Very cool. So let's go over and talk a bit about the European Championship coming up now in just a few days. Basically, it seems like it's very, very exciting, and hopefully we are going to see a lot of different types of armies. Just because of the thing you mentioned before, Luda, it's hard to look at these scenarios and try to think of one specific army that will handle everything. So for me, we've heard a bit about what you're going to be playing. For me, I kind of fell back on my tournament standard. I wanted to do something a little bit more a little bit different than what I usually do. But because of all my work scheduling and time, I didn't really have the time available, unfortunately. So I'm going with my NDAC, a little bit differently than what I usually do, mainly because of the points cost.
Yeah.
Because the point limit for this tournament is 130, so that's 143 with the faction bonus. That's quite a lot of points.
That is.
Especially when you are playing a swarm army like the NDAC are. So I'm doing, I'm also bringing the one of the first times I'm actually using the Command Walker for the access.
Nice.
And I think you are going to need it in these scenarios because of the length. You need to be able to reliably do several reactivations and such in these scenarios.
Yeah, it's really the balance there. How many HQs should you have, and how much units? Because I've doodled with this back and forth, and I think one of the armies I thought about doing a while was a big block swarm army with a lot of activations. But you tend to get fatigued and play badly, I think, and do a lot of... you don't utilize those 18-20 activations.
There is a risk that you could play recklessly and throw units away. That is true. So there is a lot more strategy and tactics to playing a swarm army than people might think, actually, especially if you're doing in a tournament setting where you have to play several matches at once. It can be very brain burning and energy consuming.
Definitely, and just by moving those 18-20 units takes a lot of time. So I know I won one game in Poland actually, just against one that swarmed with Spetsnaz and did not use the move the double action. Yeah, he tried to slow play it, and if he would have had the double amount of time, he would probably have wrecked my army to pieces. But in the end, I did one artillery strike that killed one unit, and that won the game to me because we didn't get anywhere on the board because it took him 2 hours to just move his units. And
when playing tournament games, the time aspect is very important. Definitely something you should consider. And especially if you are a newer player to Dust or new to playing tournaments, I highly recommend do not bring too many units. Pick something that you know really well and pick some... maybe bigger or more expensive units because it will probably serve you better in the long run.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that my fewer units army is not too few to be totally outmaneuvered by these guys who have the big, huge, humongous armies. But I also hope that it will give me the time to use my army and then have the break, so to speak, when the opponent is playing his or her army. I can just enjoy the game and just not be too consumed with the ferocity of a tournament like this. I don't know.
Yeah.
But with that said, I'm very, very much looking forward to this tournament. It's been a while. I didn't get to go last year, so really looking forward to meeting all these wonderful people again, playing a lot of interesting games, just seeing what new faces arrive, because that's one of the most exciting things I've seen about the European Championship is just the growth from year to year. It's been incredible, basically.
Yeah, definitely. That tournament is stepping up every single year. I don't know if he's getting the amount of players that he wants, but I'm still thinking that this will be an even better tournament no matter what this year than last year. The scenarios are better. The terrain must be even one step better. The locale will be better. Everything will just points to that this will be the best European Championship, or perhaps even the best championship that has ever been. That we're facing now. So it's just, you're super excited to go there. And I just wished I could have done it like my army with only tracked vehicles. So we could come, because I do a theme at least in my army, all is tracked and everything is rolling. So
I loved doing those themed armies if you can, just because it's so much fun to play and it's just the visuals of it. And but maybe if you are a serious tournament player, this might not be the opportunity.
Definitely, when you go headstrong into one type of army, it could leave you a little bit weak. But look at, for instance, your Endak army there, the Christoph list. That is a super competitive army. And you played it a lot also, so you know it by heart and you know what everything does. Okay, you haven't played it for a while, so you're a little bit... perhaps need a few die rolls to get things rolling, basically. But I would fear facing you with that army, with the amount of experience that you have and the knowledge of those units.
That is a critical point, yes.
Yeah.
That you need to be experienced both with what you're playing, but also with what you are facing, because you have to know what the options of your opponent is, so you don't do stupid mistakes, and that can of course happen. I recall that the last time, almost 2 years ago now, that I went and I just I forgot about one of my opponent's KV-47s that hadn't airdropped yet, so I placed both my command unit and my Tina hero next to one another, and then I dropped the Nadja and flamethrow them.
Yeah.
So, you can do that even if you are experienced.
Definitely. I mean, it's something that I actually think I learned more when I was playing bridge in my youth. That it's not the system that's important. You don't have to play the best system, the most evolved. It's important that you know the system you're playing. And the same with the units. If you know your unit and know how to handle them, that's better, because I played a lot of tournaments with fancy stuff, like in the last time when I played the Mercs, and I forgot that, Tina's hyena could bite the head off Greg, for instance. So try to remember your units, it's better to play with weaker shit or lesser useful stuff that you know how to handle than playing the special bling that everyone tells you is the best unit.
Completely agree. And that's one of the reasons why we get that question sometimes, that how should I get started? How should I choose what army to play? Play the one that appeals to you. If it's the visuals or if it's the lore behind them, whatever it is. Because if you like your army, then you are more likely to play a lot with it and get that experience.
Definitely. Sound advice.
Yeah, and it's also, I have to say, interesting times in this aspect as well, since there are a lot of new stuff that has come out fairly recently. We have, like we mentioned, the Mythos, which are fairly new at least.
And they've gone a big boost very lately because of the Avatar.
And of course we have the Japanese army, we have some new Mercs and stuff. There are a lot of new stuff that has come out, and of course the Desert Scorpions are like a fully playable army now.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So there are a lot of stuff that you can potentially face. So
and to jump in there on the ongoing story in Sweden, at least with the Japanese ninjas, I still will say that it's not the ninjas that are so super good. It's the fact that Roger has done his homework so exquisitely on how they work. He knows exactly how to utilize them to maximize their potential, and also that he's doing super groundwork on the scenarios. He has already made some bold statements on the Polish scenarios and how he will use his units to be unstoppable there. But I say I think he has one or two surprises coming, and I just hope I'll face him in Poland.
Ooh, that's even bolder statement.
Yeah, I know. I am a bit reckless sometimes, and I would love to meet him in the last game.
Right. So we're hoping to see the final between Ludda and Ninja Roger.
Yeah. Or rather, if I don't face, it's two ways. Either don't face him in the last game, or perhaps even better, face him in the first game with the right scenario. So then you know, okay, this tournament is FUBAR, or I've done one, Well.
So we'll see. I think there's going to be a lot of material, at least for us, from this tournament. So might do some kind of special episode, just all about the European Championship and things around that. And with that said, we also are very interested in knowing what other people in other parts of the world are doing, like in the American scene, for instance, or in the Asian scene. So if you have some tournament going on there, try to record some stuff and send it to us, and we would absolutely love to hear it, and would definitely play it for our audience.
Definitely,
Yes,
that would be super interesting. The first time I would listen to our podcast if there was someone else. I
thought you always listen to every episode.
Yeah.
I mean, you are a bit narcissistic. So.
Definitely, it's on repeat every single time, you know. No, but seriously, we should also say that we probably everything points to that we're going with the double mics to Poland.
Yep.
So we will have double the possibilities to interview people. If you have a question you want us to put to the winner, to the tournament organizer, to anyone particularly there. If there's a player in the Polish scene you want to know more about, or anything, I don't know, please send us those queries, because it would love to have an interview with perhaps someone we haven't thought about, or something you need to know that we hadn't brought you. I mean, okay.
There's a lot of opportunities there, definitely. Mm-hmm. So with that said, I would like to thank everyone out there for sticking with us and listening to or supporting our show. So big thank you from me, Johannes.
And from Magnus.
And the Destroyer of Worlds, Ludda.
And we will see you on the battlefield in Warsaw. Thank you for listening to Dust War Journals. You can find us at dustwarjournals.com or on social media at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Dust War Journals. And you can find our Patreon page at patreon.com/dustwarjournals. All music used in this podcast is made by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com.